Town crossed the Severn Bridge for an absolutely humongous game of Championship football on Tuesday night when we make the journey to Cardiff City for, a game that probably is must win rather than must not lose. We'll come on to that shortly, but I've got the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe alongside me to preview the game. And Jimbo, the Great Escape last time round was a 9-game thing, but we have to win this to set up another 9-gamer.
No question. No other thing to do.
We'll look ahead to the game, the whys and the wherefores of it all right after this intro.
I believe our supporters are the best supporters in the country.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning, longest-running Luton Town podcast, having scooped bronze in the Best Football League podcast category in the Football Content Awards. This season, the show is in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. As I mentioned prior to the intro, we are looking ahead to Cardiff City against Luton Town. I've got the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe alongside me to do that. James, let's get straight to it. Is this must win?
Yes, next question.
I haven't got a next question. I was expecting a longer answer than that. First thing we should just say, 7:45 Tuesday night. The game is live on Sky Sports Plus. If you haven't got a ticket in the away end, I don't know the situation with tickets at the time of this being posted. If tickets are still available and you can make it, please try and make every effort you can to get down there because the boys are going to need each and every single one of us. To get behind them, we're going to need to be loud, we're going to need to be noisy, proud, and everything else. And who knows, we might just set up that Great Escape that I referenced in the intro. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, isn't it? It's must win. But, and let's get the butt out of the way, nothing's decided on Tuesday night. But Cardiff go 8 points clear if they win. That's an absolute no. I've referenced the Great Escape. Of course, I'm talking about the Great Escape after COVID. 9 games left. We're in a much worse situation than what we're in now, league table wise. Obviously, we just had a 3 or 4 month freshener to get ourselves ready to go again, which we're not gonna have here. So if we can get within 2 points of Cardiff and hopefully Stoke and 3 points of Hull, if the results go our way, we would take a serious step towards being back in the game here.
Yeah, it's that much of a knife edge, isn't it? You win and everybody is hopeful. Lose, and like you say, it's not going to be the end of it, but it might feel like it, and that could be crucial. Must win gets banded around a lot, but I think this is absolutely. I mean, it's 5 points to safety, but it's effectively 6, isn't it, because of the goal difference. So if you're ever going to call a game a 6-pointer, this one's it.
It is, but they're only 7 ahead on goal difference, aren't they? And when you think we've got to match 2 results either way, that's naturally going to come in by at least 4. So we could still cover that goal difference. But it's only Cardiff we can cover the goal difference against. The other 2 are country mile clear of us in goal difference terms. I think Hull are in single figures for goal difference now. We're definitely not getting our goal difference down to single figures. That would take, well, with the way that we're lack of scoring goals, that would take something absolutely not going to happen. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a game that I can kind of level this with last season. And I suppose Bournemouth at home would be the one, wouldn't it? It was far enough out that had we have lost that game, we would still have had points on the board to get out of trouble. But everyone knew the magnitude and the size of it. It was made perfectly clear in press conferences and everything else. And we're recording this before Matt's press conference, so we don't know if he's going to up the ante with regards to the importance of it or if he's going to play it down. I suspect it'll be the latter based on what he's done so far. But we rose to the occasion against Bournemouth and we won that game. And that's what we've got to do tomorrow.
Yeah, there's no other option but to do that. There's the excuses have run thin. It's backs against the wall now, and everybody's got to come out fighting. The players have, and the crowd has, and I don't know if they've got it in them, but free drinks for everyone, maybe. Get everyone.
Come on, Cardiff.
Absolutely. Get. I don't know. It's a massive, massive game, and I don't think it's hyperbole to say that it's in terms of determining the destination of your football for the next season. It is as big as the Wembley game. It's not as lucrative, obviously, but the drop down will be disastrous in every sense of the word. Financial, feel good sense, and everything in between. It's going to be very hard to take if that happens, and the possibility is still high. So I'm not talking like it's not going to happen. The probability, I think, is still in the 70% mark, isn't it? If you're in the old betting game and stuff like that, which is phenomenal. So for Luton to go down will be a long, long road back, I think. We're probably all coming around to the idea that there's going to be a rebuild in the summer, regardless of what division. It will be easier in the Championship, but that's the scale of the task further down the line. This one is somehow, by hook or by crook, you've got to get a victory at Cardiff, and it's easier said than done, because when was the last time we got a victory on the road? It was September. And even then, got that by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah, I'll take a skin of our teeth win here. That's for sure. I mean, amazingly, we are still in this situation that if we can find those elusive back-to-back wins, which again haven't come along since September, if we can find back-to-back wins by this time next week, we could be on the outside looking in. I don't know how
it's easier said than done, isn't it? Yeah,
of course,
it's like we've been saying this all season. A couple of wins gets you up and out. You just look at what Portsmouth have done. I didn't think they were great shakes when they came here, and we scraped by, but we scraped by, and that's got to be the case here.
Yeah, I mean, I referenced the 2 wins because I just don't see how we get out of this with solo wins now. We're going to have to put 2 wins together at some point. I think we're looking likely to needing 6 wins now. The fact that we need 5 points just to catch someone, you've got to think that there's a good chance that they're going to put 4 wins on the board out of 10. So we're going to need 6 out of 10. Well, common maths will tell you if you only win individual games, you can't get to 6. You can only get to 5 if you go on a win-loss ratio. So we are going to have to win 2 games of football back-to-back at some point. You look after this and you've got a home game against Middlesbrough, which all of a sudden, with the likes of Ben Doak out injured, Latte Laff now plying his trade in Atlanta, and they're starting to lose games that you wouldn't have possibly thought possible for them to lose when you watched us at their place. All of a sudden, if you can win this, and we can get Kenilworth Road rocking on Saturday afternoon, and we can have one of those famous occasions like we've had against Middlesbrough the last time they were down here, albeit in different circumstances. We were both chasing the playoffs that time, I grant you. You can get those 2 wins, and then you go to Hull for an absolute monster of a game, which you've already given us 3 points in months back, because it's the first game after an international break, and all of a sudden everything's looking rosy in the garden, my friend. Of course, it is not rosy in the garden. It won't be rosy in the garden. If we get out of this is our last day of the season job. We're not getting out any earlier than that. But let's hope we go to West Brom with something in hand. We have to win this game of football, though, don't we? This is, if we go in the Great Escape, although it's not as late in the season, this is Hull away.
Yeah, because the teams around you, and you've got to do the business around them to claw. I mean, Cardiff are, by virtue of Hull pulling away, they are the team that you need to catch, aren't they? Them and Stoke. Stoke have dropped into that position, but Cardiff were before the weekend's game. So there's no point saying, oh, there's more games to go and blah, 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 blah. You've got to beat the teams directly near you to have a chance of getting out, to drag them closer, to drag you closer to getting out. Without doing that, I think it's pure pie in the sky to be suggesting there's still hope and stuff, because where would you get that from this season? I'm not sure. as much as we've tried to have some here and there, I think that the well runs dry at that point.
I mean, that's the good situation that we're in. The 4 teams immediately above us, we've got to play. Okay, they're all away, and we all know the situation, but they're also 4 of the worst 5 home teams in the league. So someone's record has got to change. And obviously, we need to make sure it's our record. Cardiff are in amongst the 5 worst home records in the league. You know, and we know our problems away from home. So we've got this situation again, haven't we? We've kind of got this flip side of the situation when Portsmouth came to our place. And you could tell they were a team that ain't won an away game or haven't got a particularly good away record in Yonks because they didn't have a clue. And they weren't up for the game at all. They were almost beaten before they turned up.
And then they've gone and beat Leeds.
But they beat Leeds at home, haven't they? We've got to make sure that's not the case here. We've got to make sure that we forget about away records and everything else and make sure that we turn up and that their dodgy home record is in the back of their minds rather than our dodgy away record is in the back of our minds.
Yeah, again, easier said than done, isn't it? Because it hasn't gone at all right. If the game at Burnley at the weekend showed you anything, it's gone wrong, and wrong with bells on. But yeah, the only way out of this is to change the narrative, change the situation. And I think that that's going to probably mean going through a fair amount of pain to get there. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be nervy and tense. I love it to be easy, don't get me wrong. Fantastic. But the fact that you ain't scoring many goals, it don't suggest that it's suddenly going to turn in 3 or 4 and make it a nice, comfortable night.
No, you can toddle off to your castle in the sky in that direction, but the real world's in this direction, isn't it? And the real world is that this is going to be one of those like Hull away in The Great Escape where thankfully we're at this game. We're not watching on from laptops and everything else, but Lua's goal was 5 minutes from the end, something like that. And what it didn't really look like coming, has to be said. It wasn't like, Storm was being laid on their goal or anything, albeit the dead atmosphere probably accounted for that. But it could be that. It could be a game that looks like it's petering out for 0-0 and all of a sudden someone pings a pinger in from 25 yards and we are going to be assisted in that because my friend's in goal for Cardiff because Amari'i's injured. So Ethan Horvath's going to be between the sticks for them. Not got a great record for Cardiff, has to be said. It's got a clanger in him. We've got to make sure that, that we force it out of him. Please, for the love of God, do not have a good game here, Ethan. Just think back to, a couple of seasons ago. We'll have that form, please, and we can all go home happy.
You've got it in for goalkeepers, haven't you? It's going to be the it's going to be the goalkeeper derby as far as you're concerned.
Oh, there's many a derby here that I've got it in for, mate, as well. We've beaten this lot. That's something to draw on.
Yeah, it wasn't easy, though, was it? It was horrible. But listen, I'm going to have to go through it. It's that siege mentality now. And maybe if you're going to cling on to any threads of hope, maybe that there could be some siege mentality that come out of that Burnley game. There's a lot of people disgruntled by factors outside, referees, decisions not going your way.
Well, Bloomfield was angry, wasn't he? That's the word I would use. He was angry. I like that. I kind of liked angry Matt, actually, to be honest. He'd been a bit nicey, Matt. I liked angry Matt. Use that anger. Fuel it in the right way. He wasn't the only one. Jordan Clark was angry. A couple of other players were angry. Use that anger to deliver a performance here. Because although they've not shown it on the pitch this season, these players are good players. Deliver a good performance, and we should still be good enough to beat some of these teams that are in and around us. We did at home without a particularly inspiring performance. So if we can get a good performance out of this one, the fact that you've beaten them with a not so good performance would surely suggest that we can win this one. They've lost their last 3. Caveat to that, Aston Villa, Burnley and Sunderland. But they've still lost their last 3. They're not exactly bouncing along at the minute. I just referenced they're the 4th worst home team in terms of points this season on their own patch. They're not flying at home either. And that's been inflated recently where they've had some nice, comfortable fixtures. Plymouth have come here and they beat them 5-0, I think they were. That was just before Christmas. But they've had some more sort of recent home games that they've taken advantage of. And obviously they'll be looking at us as similar to that. I get that. I'm sure you're going to ask it about the first goal. Feels like a game where the first goal is monumental, particularly in light of the fact that we beat them 1-0 here.
That's going to be the case, I think, for the remainder of the season. The first goal will be killer because Luton haven't demonstrated enough ability to resurrect themselves after disappointments. And I think the Burnley one aside, I think that came with a man down as well, and we all sort of knew the score there. Anybody predicting anything else hasn't looked at their scores and their form and their ability to keep the ball out of the net. But most of it at the moment feels like we're sort of clinging on to as much little amount of hope as we can get. And so when you're looking at the game through that sort of lens, we had 60 to 70 minutes, definitely 60. That's when they scored on the 30 minutes to get our heads around the fact that was going to be a defeat on Sunday. Whereas Cardiff lost late on. So psychologically, maybe that's going to be a player factor.
Yeah, let's hope so. Callum Robinson, third leading scorer in the division, which for a team that are fourth from bottom isn't a bad effort by any stretch of the imagination. Stands to reason he's the one to watch out for.
Well, yeah, that's incredible that they've got somebody that's scored that many, and they're where they are. So yeah, how many times have we said this season, there's your danger man, make sure he doesn't score? How many times has that happened?
If he scores, I'm going to start putting the centre-backs as danger men in the hope that they balls up and do something. They've also got a striker that they signed in January, Selach, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Danish guy that they signed, who's tall, very much target manish. But I'm fine with that. There still ain't many target men who've beaten us. It's these nippy buggers that do us, isn't it? And the fact that, well, we'll come on to Luton's team in a minute, but the fact that McGuinness surely has to come in, you know, that's a matchup that seems good to us. But even so, we've got to watch him because he has added a bit of a pep to their attack.
That's the other side of the coin, isn't it? When you're looking at little bits of hope, that the fact that Cardiff they are scoring now, aren't they? They're finding net. They've gone against Sunderland and scored where we didn't look like doing that in a month of Sundays when we played them last. So, and that's a concern that they know where the goal is. I mean, you know, I watched them score 3 against Swansea from the Luton press room that morning because it was the early kickoff. Can't remember the last time Luton scored 2s and 3s. It's just not happened, is it?
Well, that's why we're second bottom and fourth bottom,
Yeah.
aren't we? You know, if there was any consistency, one of us would be mid-table, wouldn't we? You're right. I mean, that Swansea game that you referenced, that you watched, that was the day of Matt Bloomfield's first game, wasn't it? Same day that we played Preston at home. Derby, they won it comfortably, 3-0. That ended a run of something like 2 points from 6 at home, 2 points from 6 matches at home. And then they went and beat Derby. Well, Derby been nothing special. Drew Bristol.
Although they went and beat Blackburn at the weekend. It's just like every other team seems to be picking stuff up.
Yeah, that also had a Derby element to it. I know, of course, our Derby, we fluffed our lines in, didn't we? Drew with Bristol City, again, that's a Derby down that way, isn't it? And then they beat Hull. They've actually done us a few turns this lot by beating Hull, by beating Derby, by, well, at the time, I suppose, beating Swansea as well. It'd be nice if they do us a turn on Tuesday night and let us beat them. They did lose to Burnley. They scored against Burnley. We've got to reference that. But, you know, as I say, we have beaten them this season. We've won, I think it's 3 of our last 4 visits there. Certainly won our last 2 league visits there. And I think we got an absolute hammer in, but we beat them in the cup. I think Sheehan scored a free kick from really good angle.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
If memory serves me right, and I might be wrong because I might have dreamt this, but I think Jake Jervis might have scored that night, and now he never scored. So I might have dreamt it.
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a funny feeling it was Jake Jervis. Don't even ask me who scored the other one. I think I'd fainted by that point. But, you know, it's not a ground where we've got a terrible record. It's not one of these that we're going to, we never win here. We used to have a horrible record against all of these Welsh teams, didn't we? Wrexham, Swansea and Cardiff. Just in recent times it's turned though, when, obviously got a couple of players that are going back that will be familiar with the surroundings, or certainly Mark McGuinness will be familiar with it. Cal's not going back. I'd imagine he'd be on the coach and go down there though, wouldn't he, and do sort of motivational stuff. They've had good records there. A couple of players like Clark would have been in the team when we won there in the league last time. Carlton Morris definitely was, because the one thing that I remember of apart from the goals that we scored, the one thing I remember of the last time we were down there was Morris got into a rumpus with McGuinness because he chucked the ball at the back of his head. Do you remember?
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah,
that was at Cardiff last time in the promotion winning season.
Oh, yeah.
Because I always thought when we signed him, I wonder if those two have
made up. Well, same with Izzy Jones and Amari'i Bell, I suppose, isn't it? But you would hope so.
Well, you would, yeah.
If not, there's another reason as to why things might not have been going. Okay, I've got no reason to believe that at all.
No, of course, those goals, Luke Freeman, Gabe Osho scored on those occasions. Harry Cornick scored a winning goal the time before that. Those two games I do remember. I still don't remember if Jake Jervis did score here, it was somewhere else, but definitely here. Let's bring it back to modern day Luton then. We know we're going to be forced into one change. I think the likelihood is we're going to have more than one change. First and foremost, is it just literally McGuinness for Naismith at the back?
Well, unless Rhys Burke is fit, because we heard on Friday that he wasn't travelling down or up to Burnley, and that was with a view for him being available for this game and the Borough game. So, if he's at all fit, then I think it'd be wise to feature him, because he's been here and done it with Luton, and he's will be desperate to prove himself. And if he's anything, Rhys Burke, he's 100% committed, but he's also very good as well. We'll need that quality. I mean, they're not the same player, are they, Naismith and Burke? But you always feel more comfortable when one of those are in your defence. So if that's an option, then I'd take it, but it would be a big gamble because he ain't played since November. Long time. But then he is used to that, coming back and having to be fit and ready. So that's going to be a big call. My instinct would say he'd probably be on the bench because it's been such a long time, but I'd be happy to see him if he is on.
Listen, if Rhys Burke is fit on Tuesday night, he's in the team. We can't piss about in this one. This ain't a game for, we got to manage minutes and all this nonsense. This is a game where we've got to go and win it. You to win it, you've got to put your best 11 on the pitch. There isn't an 11 in this formation that doesn't have Rhys Burke at the back when he's fit. There just isn't. Will he break down afterwards? Well, maybe. We'll have to deal with that afterwards. Can he get through Saturday and then he's got a 2-week period to build up more fitness? Let's hope so. But we have to find out on Tuesday night. We have to. Now, who he comes in for, that's a different story. Does he come in for Kal? And would you and then you just shift Christ across to the middle, because Rhys will play the right hand side of it, wouldn't he? There's no point bringing Rhys into the middle of it. Or do you leave Christ out and you play Amari'i, McGuinness, and Burke? Either way, if Burke is fit, and Matt seemed pretty strong that the reason why he wasn't taking him was so that he can be fit. So it would be very, very disappointing if we don't see Rhys Burke on Tuesday night now. He has to play the right centre-half role for me, because he's the best at it. He's the best ever since we've played this three at the back. Ever since. Going back into Nathan's days, he's the best we've had at that right centre-half by a country mile. It's not even close competition-wise. Christ has been really, really good there. But Burke's a level above that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're both on the same page as to Rhys Burke's talents. It's just that his body's so fragile. But yeah, if he's fit, then I think he'd come back in, purely because when we've tried to talk up Makoso, and he has said he's very good, but he's also said he's very young and raw, so you might have to dip him in and out. And I think that he's spoken numerous times, Bloomfield, about going for experience in these situations, and that would suggest to me that he'd bring Makoso out and put Burke in if Burke's available.
I've looked at this Cardiff attack and I don't see out and out pace. You know, I don't see a. I mean, we didn't have one against Burnley, did we? But I don't see a Josh Murphy in it or something of that, like which we used. I think we used Makosso against Portsmouth as much for the pace. Should he have got past Izzy Jones? I don't see that in this Cardiff side. So therefore, we don't necessarily need Makosso in this game. Saturday, when Middlesbrough come to town, that's a different story again because they do have pace in their front line, and we could do with as much pace in our back line as possible. And of course, we've got Kal Naismith back on Saturday as well, and we'll discuss where he can come into the team when we preview that game. So yeah, I'm kind of fine with. I'm not completely fine that Bell's fit, but
You mean you don't think he's fit?
No.
Yeah,
Just the way people are running past him and the way that he's diving into tackles that he would never normally dive into, that's usually a sign of I haven't got the fitness to go with someone, so I've got to try and get the ball whilst it's there. I'm thinking the Chak Fatadzi tackle for Watford's second. Okay, it might have just been that we were chasing shadows on Saturday, but the geezer walked past him for the fourth goal as well. I'm not completely convinced he's fit, but he's the only left-footed centre-half we've got right now with Naismith suspended. So he's going to have to play the left-hand role. McGuinness in the centre and Burke on the right of it for me.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that. I'd be delighted if Burke comes back and just he is the best defender at the club by comfortably, and he's not. I don't think he's made double figures this season in terms of appearances, and that's really where the problem lies with Reece Burke. But more than happy for that to be the backline situation.
Yeah, I think it has to be, doesn't it? And then, of course, I mentioned a couple of podcasts ago, the wing backs are just the wing backs. There's no other option in this formation. You just got to have Doughty and Jones. You've got to flog them until they literally can't be flogged no more, and you just got to hope they get through the entire game. Midfield, we saw Lamine on Tuesday. It'll be interesting to see if he gets a longer role here because we discussed in the last podcast that he's observing Ramadan. Well, that's not a problem here because darkness has fallen long before kickoff in this game, so he'll have enough time to have fueled himself up with food and whatever else he's fasting against. He'll have had the time to do that. We're not at that stage yet where the clocks have gone forward, and in the Premier League they schedule a break now, don't they, when sunset goes down just so that people can take on electrolytes and things. We won't have that problem, but we will have that problem obviously on Saturday. He's not going to be able to get any of that on board. So do we use him here knowing that really we can't use too much of him on Saturday? I mean, that's not to say that he can't play. He'll have fasted before and played football, but he's going to be a lot more 100% when he can take fluids on board than when he isn't. I mean, that's just the logical brain of me telling me that.
Yeah, I mean, when you put it like that, then that might seem like the obvious point that you could put him in, but I think the fact that Walsh was removed so early against Burnley, and he trusts Clark, that would be the pairing again. Again, it's experience, isn't it? He's talked about experience a lot, Bloomfield. So I think that would be more likely for me that he'd go with that midfield. But more than happy for Lamine to come in as he did at Burnley, just hopefully not once the game's lost.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I mean, Walsh is going to get dogs abuse. That's my concern.
Oh, yeah, but I think that he'll thrive on it, to be honest.
Yeah, but I'm a bit worried that it amps him up a bit too much because the last thing we need is another red card and a 5-game ban because that's half the season gone.
This is true, but
I mean, you can't necessarily pick a team for that.
No.
You've got to trust him, but you'd have thought you could have trusted Naismith. And in the heat of the battle, anything can happen, can't it? Especially if you're getting wound up like he's going to be.
Yeah, will he? I mean, no.
As an ex-Swansea player, they'll be all over him.
Yeah.
Yeah, all over him.
I think he thrives in that, to be honest. I think he'll be okay in that. I'd be more than happy for him to play.
Fair enough. So, same midfield three then, Asgard as well.
Yeah, it seems that way at the moment. I mean, he's not really been in much of the games recently. I think his best performance by country mile was the Sheffield United game in the first half when Luton actually played some football. So
therein lies the problem.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah. He's basically null and void in a side that isn't playing football.
Mm.
The ball's just going over his head.
Yeah, that's a major concern, because he showed when you play the ball into his feet, he can hold a player off because he's quite tall. He's got a very athletic stature in it, but his first instinct is to then turn and get on the front foot as well. But if you completely bypass him, he's not a tackler. He's not that's not going to suit him in any way. So you've got to get him to the point where he's going to be on the ball, and that hopefully will happen. But it hasn't of late. So whether that means change, I don't think so, because I think that he's almost Bloomfield's marquee signing, isn't he? Really, I think he just can play all the time.
Well, he's about the only one that does play now since we changed this formation of those signings, isn't he? I don't see us going 5-4-1 at this place like we did on Saturday. So Zach Nelson's going to have to come out of the side. So we're going to play 2 up front. I think Morris comes back. There's got to be a reason why he didn't even come on Saturday. 3-0. I don't even know why he's warming up, to be honest with you. Just sit down, mate. But it's who's alongside him, isn't it? He played a lot of Elijah on Saturday, and I kind of got the impression in my mind that was with a view to sacrificing him on Tuesday. So I'm assuming and I'm thinking it'll be Jacob Brown alongside Morris. Jacob Brown scored the winning goal at Kenilworth Road from the Alfred Doughty corner. He had the chance on Saturday. Okay, I know he hit it straight at the keeper or gave Trafford a chance to save it, but previously scored against Plymouth. Had probably gave us our most attacking threat at Watford. I mean, obviously, it's not exactly comparing apples with apples or anything, but I don't want to say he's an informed striker, because none of them are in form, but he's as much in form as any of the strikers.
Well, it's the only one scoring, isn't he, out of the 3 of them? Well, 4 if you put Nordas on as well. So, yeah, on that basis, and he's getting the chances as well. That is another thing. So I think that probably would be the pairing that you go with to sort of stack the cards in your favour.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, if Nordas isn't coming on Saturday, I suppose you could say there's an element that he's saving him for here. But he hasn't come on at all recently, has he, apart from a couple of minutes to finish games off here and there. So it would all point to Morris and Brown, wouldn't it? Just on your Reece Burke thing, he has 10 appearances this season, 4 wins, 2 draws, 4 defeats. And many players in this team that are winning 40% of their appearances. So straight in, please.
Yeah. We'll see what you mean when you put it like that. I mean, but that's just on the eye test over the number of years that we've seen that when he plays, Luton are more competitive. But when you put it like that, that's impressive. It's that he's only managed to play more than 7 games in a row once, I think, for Luton, which is pretty disappointing. You wonder where Luton could be if he was robust in any way.
Yep, 4 wins, 2 draws, 4 defeats with Reece Burke in our defence, and 2 of those defeats at Sheffield United and at Leeds. You don't really need to compare them in this game because they're a completely different magnitude to Cardiff in any comparison, aren't they? So effectively 4-2-2 in the games that are of a similar nature to this. So yeah, I would be absolutely delighted if I see Reece Burke in the team. So that's pretty much how we're going, really, isn't it? So that's what would that be? McGuinness coming in for 1 change, Burke coming in for another change, Brown and Morris. So that would be 4 changes to the starting lineup. That kind of feels about right to me.
Yeah, I think that's probably all right for me as well. I don't think you can really go wholesale. It wasn't a case that the score aside, it wasn't the fact that Luton were abjectly terrible. It's just that they were a man down against a fairly solid side, and Burnley had the refs on the lino on their side as well.
Yeah, let's hope they don't have the linesmen and the referees on their side. Goes without saying, keep 11 men on the pitch. I mean, we are top of the table, Jimbo. Unfortunately, it's in red cards. 0 red cards in the Premier League, where you've got every single bit of scrutiny go into man. 6 red cards in the Championship in 36 games.
Yeah, they were very nice in the Premier League, weren't they? But seems not to be in this case. I mean, 2 of them for Walsh, and he's since clawed himself back into the good books well, for me anyway. Some people are a bit more harsh, but yeah, for me, he has. And one of them was Kaminsky coming off his line for once. Very, very, very long way off his line against Portsmouth.
The poor boy's come off his line twice, got sent off against Portsmouth and injured himself against Burnley. Maybe I'm realising why he doesn't come off his line now.
Well, there you go. Proof's in the pudding, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Come off your line a few times here, though, Thomas. Help the defence out a little bit, particularly if it's a patched up one, like we think it might be. McGuinness isn't fit either, but he's going to have to play because needs must. Adrenaline will get him through. He'll definitely be up for this game, former club, and all of that nonsense. But yeah, huge night. The biggest night of the season so far. And let's hope we can set another Great Escape rolling. We'll finish the podcast as we always do with the correct scores. Your turn to go first this time, Jimbo. Cardiff versus Luton. How does it finish?
I'm not going to deviate. As I said in the previous podcast, I am not deviating from my reverse psychology for the win mantra. And so Luton will lose 2-1.
I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I think you are doing reverse psychology this time.
I am, by the way, for anyone that can't guess that. And maybe the people that are just listening rather than watching on YouTube, I definitely am. I just need to make that clear. But don't tell the football gods.
No, don't tell them. Keep it from them. Yeah, I'm just trying to think how Luton win this game. It's probably going to be how we won the game down here, a set piece, really. McGuinness, I mean, if we've got Reece Berg, we haven't really discussed the aerial threat that he gives us, because our set pieces on Saturday, I mean, appalling, didn't do them justice. They didn't. But then when you looked in the box, it was like trying to pick out a small guy in amongst a land of giants. So they didn't really have any, because, McGuinness was only on the pitch. Most of these corners took place before he came on the pitch. Naismith's not particularly tall. Makosso's okay, but you kind of get the impression that as a youngster, he's still working out the attacking routes of the set pieces. Bell doesn't even go forward for them. And Asgard's the only kind of semi-tall player with a physical threat. So there was a caveat to why the set pieces were so terrible, but they can't be this bad Tuesday night. There'll be no excuses. If you've got McGuinness, if you've got Burke, if you've got Asgard, if you've got Morris, there's no excuses not to have good balls into them. If you hit the first man each time, I mean, no. And you've got a goal. They've got a goalkeeper who flaps at crosses. You've got to put these set pieces in.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no. I mean, that's probably one of Luton's main routes to goal, isn't it? Regardless, when they were playing well, and when they're not playing well, it's the main route. I've raised the issue before the Burnley game about Alfie Doughty and Izzy Jones' importance, because he's obviously gone to this formation to ensure that those two can fit in. But they also haven't played a lot of football this season. Doughty was out for a very long time, and it showed, because at the time that he went out, he was the leading chance creator in the Championship. And Izzy Jones has been impressive in terms of getting to the edge of the box and getting to the byline, but his delivery hasn't so far been up to speed. So it's about there's a lot more to come from those, and these start happening soon. But set pieces is the only other main route that's happened, and you'd want more different ways to pick teams off, but so far that is it. So you've got to play to those strengths.
Yeah, indeed. I'll flip you around then. 2-1 Luton. That was the score last time there. We went 2-0 up. I think it was Sawyers who scored from about 20, 25 yards out of nowhere and made it sort of hairy last 5 minutes. Don't bother doing that. Score your one goal in the 95th minute of 4 minutes of injury time if you're going to score one. But 2-1, I think. So, I think set plays kind of like that. Izzy Brown. I keep on calling him Izzy Brown. Izzy Jones. I'm going into Graham Jones territory here. I kind of like that Izzy Jones.
Keep going on about the Great Escape, that's why.
Indeed, yeah. He'd long gone by the time that started, but you're right. I kind of like that Izzy Jones up against Callum O'Dowda route down there. I'm thinking to that Aston Villa game, and they got a lot of joy down that right-hand side, and generally their best play comes from the left-hand side, Villa, because that's where Rodgers and Rashford and everyone else plays. So, maybe that is the route. I mean, he's got a bit of something to prove end product-wise. McGuinness will have something to prove against his former club. Walsh would love to get one over his former rivals. There's enough Luton players with motivation, natural motivation, without the motivation of the evening as well. Yeah, maybe this is the one that we come out on top. I mean, I don't think Cardiff are a particularly good side. Hey, I don't think we're a particularly good side. But I do think, man for man, if everyone plays to their potential on the pitch, we'll be the better team. Just by virtue of the fact that we've just come out of the Premier League and we're talking about a few players that are coming back. So, 2-1 Luton for me.
Well, that'd be lovely. I want yours to be absolutely true.
I don't want mine to be true. I want it to be like 5-0 or something.
Oh yeah, I'd rather it be much more comfortable, but it's not going to be. It's going to be horrible, and not just this game. It's going to be horrible, painful, nervy. You might have to overcome some adversity, which is a big thing as well, because that hasn't often been the case.
This is going to be one of those like Portsmouth that if we're ahead, we're going to have to scream at them to get out the penalty box, and Matt will be screaming at them, and because of the magnitude of the game, they're naturally going to drop deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, aren't they? Think back to Millwall right at the start of the season when we were clinging on for an away win there, the one that we got. It's going to be exactly like that. There's not going to be unless like the referee's on our side and sends someone off or gives us a penalty or something. I mean, if he gives us a penalty, happy days, because we know the geezer in goal ain't saving one. But unless something like that happens, it's going to be not going to be a nail biting one for me because they're long gone, but it's going to be similar to that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be horrible, and worse still because it's going to be at their place as well. So they'll know and understand that a victory for them could almost see them clear. I mean, it won't, but it's the psychological aspect of it, isn't it? And that's what you're dealing with for the remainder of the season. You're either going to really boost your chances or severely dent them.
Yeah, I guess the good thing here is Derby won at the weekend, which probably isn't good for us, but it does mean that Cardiff can't just play for a draw here, because they don't want Derby getting any closer to them. Had Derby have lost, then I think they'd have been 7 points behind them. Then they could have looked at this, the draw's fine, parked the bus and everything else, made it a really tough night. The fact that they're going to have to come out at us should at least give us a little bit of space in behind them to do our thing. Of course, we'll still have to repel that defensively. But you know what we're like about breaking down parked buses. At least we won't have that problem.
Yeah, I don't foresee that would be the case. I mean, I don't think either side can park the bus necessarily.
That is true.
That's the problem, isn't it? So
they've conceded as many goals as what we have. So we're not looking at a defensive stalemate here, are we? We're looking at a shootout. But by virtue of the fact that our strikers aren't doing it, a shootout is going to lead to a 2-1 rather than a 3-2 or 4-3.
Yeah, in all likelihood. But we can only hope that it's much better than that. Certainly bring the bloody goal difference down. I don't think that's really going to be a factor.
It isn't, but Jesus, if we could win by 3, that cancels it out, doesn't it? Near enough. I think there'll be one ahead of us on goal difference, but we would still have to win another game to overtake them. So effectively there's lots of permutations for this one. Away from home under Matt Bloomfield, the results haven't been great, but I don't think take the Sunderland one away. And I'm still not completely convinced in my mind that we didn't just forget that, because too many players came back too quickly for the Sheffield United game on the Saturday for me to process it as we took that game seriously. But take that game out, even if we did take it seriously, take it out because Sunderland are an entity of their own. And to an extent Saturday as well, because of the situation after 18 minutes. The other away games under Matt, so that's Oxford away, perfectly fine performance, probably our best away performance for quite some time, till the defence got involved. And then Sheffield Wednesday away, again, perfectly good. We still don't know whether that's a penalty or not for Lamin's tackle in the box, but we do know he should have been wiped out on the halfway line. Again, if we get into that situation, we've got to got to kind of learn from that. Okay, the Watford game, not great, but it started okay until, again, refereeing decisions got involved. If we can keep some refereeing decisions out of the equation, the performances are probably better than the results. Now it's time to turn the performances into the results.
Well, you've got to do a damn sight better than the last 2 away games, which was have 10 minutes of a good game and 18 minutes of a good game, because that's not going to be anywhere near good enough by any stretch of the imagination. So that's got to improve.
What I'm getting at, though, is we're winless since September away from home, but we've not been as far away from the opposition in these recent away games as what we were in the middle of that run, where Plymouth destroyed us, where Leeds destroyed us, where Middlesbrough, Norwich and everyone else Swansea only scored in the last minute, but to all the eyes told us that they destroyed us as well. The goal just came. It's been a lot closer than that recently under Matt. It's now tilting the margins, whereas under Rob, we were a mile off it in away games.
Yeah, I suppose in one hand, if you want to look at it like that, but we also not scored for 2 away games.
You're determined to wipe out all of my optimism here, Jimbo.
These are the stats that are worrying. If you look at the amount of goals that Luton have scored under Bloomfield, not nearly enough. And
I'll throw a caveat at you. We did score against the second worst defence in the league. We did score against the worst defence in the league. We're now playing the joint third worst defence in the league. The case for scoring, Your Honour, is firmly closed.
If those are the stats, I'll take it, because a 0-0's not going to
There
help.
is no chance this
It won't end 0-0 because
no chance.
Can't keep them out. They've started scoring as well, Cardiff. It's just that Luton now have to discover the touch, and I guess that was part of the reason why Morris didn't play at Burnley. But he hasn't scored for a long time, and it's got to change. It's got to change straight away. You can't mess around here.
All systems go, Town. That's what we need. 100%. We need that first 45 minutes against Sheffield United with a goal on it, don't we? That's what we need. 2 goals, preferably. And see where we go. Let's hope that on Wednesday we're sitting here recording a podcast that looks back at the Town really reigniting their season. If we're not, might be some biscuit chat. There might be some biscuit chat. There's been a few of you who have already asked for some biscuit chat. There might be some biscuit chat. I don't think there's enough McCoys in the world for me to get over losing at Cardiff. I really don't. I had a packet on Saturday. It just didn't. Even that didn't work.
We've done crisps, even though we didn't have the 2 best crisps in the world, which I did find yesterday. And
then came out with some nonsense on Twitter about.
No, this is stone cold fact. I road tested both of them. His favourite, my favourite, clear winner. Science. That's what that is, science.
But there might be some biscuit jam. We hope there won't be. We hope we'll be rejoicing about a victory that sets up a huge game on Saturday to follow. But yeah, pre-warning. There could be some biscuit chat on the horizon. Let's hope that's not the case. Thanks for watching or listening. Get your score predictions into us. Admittedly, there's not a great deal of time for this one. We've got this out to you as early as we possibly could do. Blame the scheduler, don't blame us. But yeah, get your score predictions into us. Do you see the Town winning this? Or are you of the other persuasion, and is this the night that, in all likelihood, the survival chances, well, if they're not ended, they take a serious dent? Let us know. Let us know your team lineup. Does Bert get straight back in for you, or are you saving him? Quite what you'd be saving him for, I've no idea. But if you are saving him, let us know. Who's up front? Who's in midfield? Let us know who you are going with. Just to reiterate, we're only making 4 changes. McGuinness, Bert is in for us, and the front 2 change, Morris and Brown. Rest of the team is unchanged from Saturday. Thanks, as always, to the Barber Club and the Lower Level in Luton for hosting our studio, to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music, and to Ed Smith Creative for all the designs that you see on set. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Podcasts are going to be coming thick and fast at you throughout this week. But until next time, where we hope that we are reviewing a massive Luton Town win from Jimbo and myself, everyone right behind these boys on Tuesday night, please. Come on, Town, we can do this.
I believe our supporters are the best supporters in the country.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.